There we go. That's better. Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 409 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, number one live podcast in Canada, recorded November 6th, 2023.
We need your help to support Canadian Patriot Podcast. Visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. Show you know how to come, yes, buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
Our favorite segment of the show. What are we drinking? Ian?
Well, I guess I have to go first. Actually, a big polar bear tonight. I was outside working in the rain, so I figured I'd need something to warm me up. So, a polar bear is basically hot chocolate, Irish cream, and peppermint schnapps.
Ooh, a
Yeah,
little schnapps. That sounds tasty.
yeah. It's like imagine like a chocolate mint kind of hot
Yeah,
chocolate going in. Yeah, it's pretty good.
nice.
Uh, Patriot Challenge. See here. Well, to go with that, of course, I've got the water. But in reality, exercising a lot and practicing a skill. I've been actually doing some home renos, so why not?
Nice. There you go. Well, I am drinking some Canadian Club Classic this evening and Diet Pepsi as per usual. And Patriot Challenge stuff, yeah, doing my water. I too am also doing some home renos and practicing some skills. Had to, repair some patches in the wall and things like that, and had to fix some old patches in the wall that the previous owner did not do correctly, and fun things like that. And as Ian learned when he was here visiting off and on, a bunch of the things in the house were really not done well. So replaced some electrical sockets and found some interesting things there that we're still trying to figure out how to solve it to make it look better than it did. But you know, the joys of home ownership.
Well, I think the problem with that is too
Yay.
is that there's always going to be somebody that they're like the previous owners are always going to do something that you don't agree with anyway, right? So
Well, yeah.
anyway, just
The
gotta
only
deal
thing
with it.
I agree with is that they sold me the house. That's
And fair. They're lost now, especially with the real estate market the way it is.
yeah, yeah. Especially because we got below asking.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they should listen to the market. And speaking of listening, we'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. A version of the show is available on iTunes, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, or you can come see us live at various shooting events when those commence again. And yes, Andrew is not here this evening. I am the Andrew. Andrew is involved in a incredibly lengthy meeting this evening, which I'm surprised you're not part of, Chris. But yes, he is not here. I am your Andrew tonight, so just just accept it. But we didn't want to have another complaint that there was no show, so here we are.
Just the two of us.
Yeah. So feel free to send some feedback, Chris, or anyone else. We'd like to hear some complaints from somebody that isn't Chris. Not that we don't want to hear yours too, Chris, but some
We
other
don't.
ones would be great.
Well, I've got some complaints about the government once we get to that part. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And that's an excellent segue to the news. First article we have here is Ontario to make it mandatory for salaries to just be disclosed in job postings.
yeah, I have a question.
Yep.
So, I'm more of a, well, I'm not proud to be a union member, but I am a union member nonetheless. And everything is usually agreed upon beforehand with contracts, like collective agreements and stuff. So there's no dickering on the wage, right?
Yeah.
And so having never really worked in a negotiated private sector like that before myself, because I've been in the kind of the same industry for decades, um, is it not normal for them to kind of advertise what they're willing to pay, or is that just like a considered a starting position?
Uh, so I don't know. In my experience running a business in the private sector, we have always put a range out. It may not be exactly because I don't want to say 45,000, right?
Yeah.
And then you get somebody that's like a 40,000 or 35 that shows up for the job, right?
Yeah.
but we try to give it a range where, like, I expect to pay somewhere around this level, and then I'll advertise it a little bit below and a little bit above, hoping to pull in some candidates that feel like they are worth it in that price range. Like, I'd say even for hourly people, when we do that, like, we give an hourly range because it's not necessarily going to be exactly what it is. But I figure I don't want to waste someone's time, which then in turn wastes my time, right? Like, if
Yeah.
they're looking for 80 plus and we're offering 50, I don't want to waste their time.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious as to what they think they're achieving with this because I guess I have two thought processes on this one. One, you think it'd be like haggling in India, and you offer them about a third what you're willing to pay, and they're going to ask for about three times what they're willing to settle for. But
Yeah.
um, what are they trying to achieve with this? And the fact that, yeah, you're probably going to advertise to try and weed out some people before they even apply.
Yeah. And if you go on, like, I mean, almost everybody uses Indeed now for job postings.
Okay.
That's sort of a thing that you have to fill out in one of the fields, is like, what's the pay? Like, what's the range? So at least for me and my experience in business since 2004-ish, we've just always put that in there. So I don't see, this is, I think, government stepping in to just control something for the sake of controlling something.
Solve a problem that wasn't there.
Yeah. And the article talks about how, oh, well, if it's below $100,000, then we should put it in there. But anything above that, you don't need to do that or whatever. And it's like, well, I mean, if I'm in that range where I'm above 100,000, there's a big difference between 100,000, 150,000, 200,000. So if you're going to put it in there, you kind of have to put it in there for everything. It's kind of an all or nothing thing.
Hmm.
I think this is, I mean, yeah, government being government and just trying to make it look like they're doing something when the reality is the market has already been doing this, at least from my experience, for quite a while, just because it makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of confused when I read that one, but anyway.
But yeah, way to go forward.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe he's trying to just like draw some attention away from all the scandals.
yeah. Well,
Well,
speaking of confusing reasons for doing stuff,
yeah, I just put this one in because it seems so absurd. Um, PEI photographer handcuffed, fined after taking pictures of Quebec City's iconic Chateau Frontenac.
so when I read that, it seems that I guess the big issue was the fact that the U.S. consulate was basically in frame, and so where he was standing
Well,
was gonna.
or not even necessarily that it was in frame, is that he was standing in front of the consulate
Yeah.
because the Chateau Frontenac is immediately across the street, and they have accused him of loitering.
And not to mention the fact he's a professional photographer, and he was there for all of what,
Yeah,
half an hour.
yeah,
It could have just been, put on a protest sign, and it would have been perfectly acceptable to be there. But
yeah, absolutely.
anyway, yeah. So I just found it funny because it's like not like can't be the first person to have ever photographed the Chateau Frontenac, right?
Well, and I get the consulate wanting to be, secure and safe, especially with all of the things going on in the world right now, and the fact that, like, there's a large percentage of the population of the world that just hates the US for being the US. Well, they'd maybe want to have some security things. But like, if they're so worried about someone peeking into the building and being able to take photographs, I don't know, shut your drapes.
Yeah.
Like, there's these things called curtains, like, you can put them in, or you can get that film that just sticks to the window so that, like, nobody can see in. It sounds like a
And
pretty easy solution to the problem.
and if they're worried about him strapping some stuff to his vest underneath his jacket, I mean, they could always get some of that 3M film
Yeah,
that also keeps the windows from collapsing inwards. So I mean,
yeah,
anyway.
yeah. But yes, apparently in Quebec City, the municipal bylaw says that it is prohibited for a person without a reasonable motive to loiter, wander, or sleep in a street or public space.
Okay.
I mean, so his thing was that he was waiting for a cloud to pass so that he could get a good picture of the Chateau Frontenac, which is an iconic building in Quebec City. To me, that seems like a reasonable excuse to loiter.
Yeah.
Also, how do they define wandering? Like,
Well, I mean, the very simple fact is he is literally a professional photographer. It's not like he's just a autist that
yeah,
was waiting for the perfect light to get his proper f settings and stuff.
yeah.
Literally, that's his job.
Well, exactly. But I just find that it's weird. Like, okay, I get that, like, no sleeping in a city street because, yeah, you don't want people just sleeping wherever. But wandering, like, how do they tell that I am wandering without a purpose versus walking to the grocery store or sightseeing or, going for a jog because it's exercise or like it just seems ridiculous that that is a part of this law. Like loitering at least entails that you're staying more or less in the same spot.
Yeah,
Sleeping again, pretty obvious, but wandering.
I can understand if maybe they said the word traveling and they were against the free men of the land or something.
Oh yeah, that would be a good one. Actually, sir, traveling is against the law. The aunt,
Su-
this,
Surprise!
yeah, the reing would be incredible on that one. You
Yeah.
can't stop me. Am I being detained? Uh, but yeah, I guess they apparently somebody called 911 and said there was a suspicious person. The police came to investigate. Apparently, security also in front of the consulate told the guy to shuffle along. The cops also told him to shuffle along. And when he was like, bro, I'm in public on the sidewalk, like, fuck off. That's when they asked to see his ID and detained him and then arrested him, which seems a little ridiculous and excessive. But
Well, I think he's won that court case already. As soon as that article came out, there's no way he's gonna get stuck with that fine.
yeah, and I mean, even if he does, I'm sure that enough people can chip in and pay the what was it, $250 or something.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, to be fair, that is a harsher punishment than Trudeau got for a violation of the ethics thing, because that's only $200.
That's right.
But I think he can survive without the $200, and I'm sure some people will pitch in as good Samaritans and go, here you go, but
Actually, it's not even in the list of the news articles, but did you hear about, speaking of Trudeau and another ethics breach, did you hear about his little cottage worth that got $8 million out of a budget?
I have not. Do
Okay, so
tell.
this actually just came out, I think, yesterday. Um, so turns out that Trudeau and crew hid $8 million into a budget of a different Crown corporation that went straight to his cottage and
Interesting.
installed a bunch of solar panels and an elevator for a place that only has one floor and a bunch of this stuff. Um, so basically, he got $8 million worth of upgrades on the government's dime, and the case is just breaking. So be very interesting to see how that pans out by next
Huh,
week.
interesting. It's the thing that I always find strange about government, and I mean a lot of things, but like the way that they can do things like that. Like they'll have a bill for something that gets voted on, and they will bury something in it that is completely unrelated to what the bill is actually about.
Yeah, and it's an omnibus, so you vote for all of it or none of it.
Yeah, and it's like, but this has nothing to do. Like, it's like they want to ban all the guns, and we're going to throw in like the universal income thing into it too, or something stupid like that. Like, we're like, but what? No.
Yeah, I'm just dying to find out exactly how they're gonna justify that one. But on the fact that basically it's not even going to like the prime minister's cottage. It's actually literally his personal cottage, the one where he lost all those guns from when it got broken into a million years ago.
Well, see, I mean, in the interest of public safety, I would have been okay if they had like it, budgeted some money, even if they did it sneakily for like, I don't know, a gun safe, something to secure any firearms he may now own that were not stolen.
Yeah, so they don't
Yeah,
get stolen again and create another legal
yeah,
issue.
public safety issue. Yeah, yeah. No, that's not surprising, but also that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
You should go loiter in front of the buildings in Quebec.
Yeah. Or you could try curling.
Yes. This one I found also funny. We're going to have some probably short, really articles that are just kind of humorous because it's been, I don't know, a lot of heavy news lately. But
Yes.
a Mississauga man who loved curling but never played got a call from a national team, and you'll never guess where that national team is from.
Well, not Jamaica.
No, Guyana. So equally ridiculous.
Yeah,
So
Jamaica.
there are hopes for us yet, Ian, to join some sort of national sporting event, even though we may never have played that sport ever before in our lives.
And have zero sporting skills whatsoever. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
fascinating. I guess because he was born in Guyana, even though he's raised in
yeah,
Canada, and he was a bit of an autist with curling. And I guess he was on the Facebook page or something. So the coach
yeah.
was short a guy, and basically he was gonna have to
Which,
forfeit.
yeah, the interesting thing is that the coach of the team that also like organizes the team and every also lives in Canada, 20 minutes away in Burlington or in sorry in Brampton.
Yeah, and so I think if he had pulled out of the tournament, he was gonna lose $1,000 or something. So he figured he was
Yeah,
get just a
yeah,
guy to show up because a bum in seat is good enough.
yeah. So apparently he found this guy because this guy had liked and commented on all of the posts about this team on Facebook, and he was like, "Well, this guy seems to like curling, and he's 20 minutes away. He's hired."
And he's technically Guyanese, so
Yeah,
yeah,
boom, yeah,
yeah. So it was a pretty funny, and they won, didn't they?
yeah. That's the crazy thing is that they won this tournament with this guy, yeah, having no idea what he's doing. So yeah, there's hope for all of you out there, right?
Yeah, if you got a second passport or a different birth country, I mean, who knows? They may need you last
Yeah,
minute.
yeah, exactly. Which might get you like on an Olympic shooting team or something so that you can continue to buy pistols, which I have on good authority from a lawyer friend of mine who actually witnessed this, but a legal transfer of a pistol recently for
Wow,
sporting for Olympic sporting purposes.
wow, serious.
And it was a 9 mil pistol.
Not just a 22 single shot or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it is a possibility. So you never know. Get on the book of faces and start liking all of those national shooting team posts. And you too might get asked because you like them on Facebook and you
Yeah,
happen to be conveniently close.
yeah. If only I was born somewhere else, eh?
Yeah, well, I mean, there might be a Canadian team that does the same thing. You never know.
Hmm.
But I just found this one kind of one of those, humorous but lighthearted and fun things. The ridiculous side of the news every now and again.
Well, not as ridiculous as the next one.
Oh, this is where things get a little darker again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess the left coast is a sex offender on the loose.
Yeah, so back in the 90s, there was no, sorry, 90s, early 2000s, I guess it was. This guy was responsible for one of the largest manhunts in BC history because
Yeah.
he had abducted a kid who was asleep in his room and ran in with this kid out to the cabin. They said nothing happened to the kid, but he kept the kid for 3 or 4 days, and then
Yeah.
eventually they figured out where he was and got the kid back and stuff. And supposedly the kid was okay, but he's a multiple, like a repeat sex offender, repeat sexual assault, pedophile, all
Yeah.
this
Well, I
other
mean,
stuff.
the fact that I mean, okay, so you need to tread carefully with the things that I say. I understand if a parent of a child that, and they're separated from the other parent kidnaps a child, right? Like, I understand that. And I don't think there's anything extra nefarious going on there other than that parent wants to be with their child. But
Yeah,
if you
I don't know
kidnap
authorized
someone
access.
else's child,
Yeah, you're usually about a jar of Vaseline away from like, Buffalo Billing the whole thing. So
right? Like they're even that in and of itself is so wrong. that even if nothing else did happen and there was no intent for anything else to happen, that in and of itself should be just like a, yeah, no, you can't be trusted around people, especially not kids. You go to jail, straight to jail, and you don't leave.
Well, yeah, I mean the recidivism rate is bad enough as it is, but they also released him, I guess, earlier than even BC is happy with, which is telling. If
Well,
even the
and
BC government wasn't happy with how fast he got back
you
out.
see how, yeah, a multiple offender and a violent offender too, because he's assaulted people in a halfway home, who is currently losing his parole or whatever because he's violated his parole. Yet they still let him leave the building because he has like one of those ankle monitors on that he
Which he
somehow manages to cut off.
which he promptly cut off probably with like a $15 Mora knife.
Yeah, which is actually probably one of the better knives around for the money. Let's be honest.
Just saying.
Yeah, they are fantastic knives. I have one that I've had for forever, and it is still razor sharp.
Yeah, and so all it took for him to do is basically just reach down, yank off the monitoring bracelet, and now for some reason they can't figure out how to find him. I mean,
Clearly, he's not a gun owner.
no, no, clearly not.
As if he was, they'd have been able to find him instantly.
Yeah, or he doesn't have a government self-provided cell phone, which is unusual too, because usually when they're in that kind of zone of economic
Yeah.
activity, they usually get a government-provided phone, which is interesting too.
Yeah,
So
maybe if he had donated some money to the Freedom Convoy, that they would have been able to find him, or at least lock his bank account down.
yeah, so supposedly he's wandering around downtown Vancouver right now for some reason, despite having pictures and recent whereabouts of him and a bunch of people willing to do stuff for money. They can't seem to find the guy.
I'm hoping they can't find him because somebody else has already found him.
And took care of that recidivism rate.
Yes,
Oh, I see.
but sadly, I don't think that's the case. And having watched a video today of what downtown Vancouver looks like these days with the legal drug problem, um, I'm sure he could blend in really well with the other scumbags on the street.
Yeah, no, they're doing a really good impression of San Francisco right now when it comes to the drug use and
Yeah,
the
just
rampant.
just a little bit colder.
Yeah,
That's about it. Yeah, that was
yeah,
disgusting, man. That documentary that I saw about Vancouver now and like all along, what is it, East Hastings there? Like they're like, yeah, don't be on that street like after 7 p.m. because you will get robbed.
yeah, and it's just it's gotten so out of hand. And yet, if you actually go down there with as a documentary crew or something, they get all insulted, saying like, how dare you like suggest that we're
Yeah,
like a shithole? I'm like, well,
we're
you
not
kind of
suggesting it. Yeah, you're just
you kind of are, yeah.
yeah, we're just pointing the lens at you, and you're doing that all in and of yourself. Yeah, it was crazy, man. Like, and yeah, they were like violently attacking the car as they were trying to like speed away with their lives. But yeah, I guess that provides the perfect opportunity for this shitbag to hide out and
Yeah, so the thing is, if he actually does commit another crime involving a child before he gets locked back up, I mean that's squarely on the government there. I mean that's
oh yeah, like why is this kind of guy even in a halfway house to begin with?
yeah.
Like jail, straight to jail, or better yet, straight to the gallows.
Majority of Canadians are in favor of that, but they don't want to ever run
Yeah.
that vote.
Well, yeah. Speaking of votes,
Yeah.
this one was an interesting one. So I guess there's the pause for the carbon tax that is going to go through where a small percentage of the population won't have to pay the carbon tax, but the vast majority of the people will. The
Almost like
conservative, yeah. No,
oh, yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
It's almost like they're trying to buy votes from a certain region. Almost.
Regions where the liberals are not doing so good and
Yeah,
the
and
MPs are getting rowdy.
up until recently, that was a bastion of liberal voting, but it's kind of a welfare state area of the country. But then they've kind of fallen off the liberal plantation, and so they need to get them back on there. And so yeah, they're
Interesting
offering.
way of doing it.
Yeah.
Huh.
But what I was more interested in with this article here that from CTV News that it turns out Quebec already does not pay
Yeah.
carbon tax, which makes them the only province that actually doesn't have to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. I was reading that list and they're like, oh, well, this only affects provinces that have to do it. Those provinces include, and I was expecting like a couple of them. It's like literally every province, but
Yeah, so what they're telling me is that Quebec never had to pay carbon tax and does not have to do this home heating oil thing as well. So of course, I was expecting this to be like almost like a confidence motion and have the NDP on the side of the Conservatives. And I
I am
thought,
surprised that Trudeau didn't threaten that. Like, even though it's a motion, and for those that don't know because they don't follow the system or understand it, motions don't actually do anything.
no,
It is quite literally a vote on virtue signaling. That is all that it is.
it's like the
But
anti-Islamophobia motion way back
yeah,
when, right?
it can be a bit of a barometer for the winds of change, if you will, right? Like, if everyone was to vote in favor of this motion, it would really show how weak the liberals are. And the fact that the NDP actually broke from their pact with them to vote on this, even though it does nothing, shows that the relationship is not as solid as it once was.
Yeah, and even more importantly, like up until now, the bloc has always sided with the Conservatives to to provide like
Yeah.
the basically two voting blocks. And so they sided with the Liberals this time, and I was reading because I did not know this at all, and they're
Well,
basically like, well, it doesn't affect us anyway, so we don't care, and so we'll just vote to kill it. And I was like, that's your reasoning for voting against this motion was just because it
yeah, it
doesn't
doesn't
affect
affect
you.
us. Yeah.
Doesn't sound like they're kind of like part of a nation or part of a larger group at all. It almost sounds like they're like a separate
Well, you think that
jurisdiction.
they would have, I don't know, to get some favor outside of the province, like they maybe would have voted in favor of this just to stick one to Trudeau. Like,
Yeah, not good teamwork at all.
yeah. I mean, it's sort of not shocking that the Greens voted for it, like all two of them, or but like, yeah, it was interesting to see that the NDP finally got a bit of a backbone and did something that was actually good for the country, even though their reasons for doing it are not good.
Well, I
Like,
think they're trying their best to maintain their voter base. I think they're going to be
yeah,
hemorrhaging as it is, but I think everybody can see the writing on the wall. This is not a popular tax, right?
yeah, no. And I think the NDP would have just preferred to everyone just pay it rather than only some people pay it, not get rid of it. But
Yeah.
at least they voted in favor of this thing, which is, yeah, it's not fair that like some people will have to pay this and others don't. Like, if we're going to get stuck with the stupid thing, then everyone should get stuck with the stupid thing. Not that I think we should, but
Yeah.
at least
I
that's
would just prefer if nobody
fair.
had to pay it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, at least we're all getting screwed equally, right?
Yeah.
But uh, I am surprised, though. I mean, he won, but I'm surprised that he didn't threaten this to be a confidence vote like he did early on in this thing, where it's like literally everything was a confidence vote, even if it's not supposed to be.
Yeah, and so he was very, very subdued about this because I think he was probably a little worried, more so than normal. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I
but
would have been in his position. Like, if traditionally the bloc votes conservative, and then that the NDP isn't going your way, like they could have won this motion that does absolutely nothing. Uh, I think the article did make a point to say that Trudeau and Jagmeet both voted virtually. I guess
I
they didn't want to run into one another in the house.
well, I think maybe Trudeau's enjoyed that those new solar panels at his cottage or something. Who knows, right? Like he's probably
Well,
got
you
other things
gotta
to do.
power those giant flat screens with something, right?
Well, or swipe right or left on grinder there. Things he's got things
Yeah.
to do. So,
Maybe him and Jagmeet were just in separate rooms in the cottage.
oh yeah,
He
he,
just had like a green screen of whatever Jagmeet's office looks like.
yeah. He's just because he is ready to mingle now. So
Yeah, certainly is.
yeah, it's interesting how they did the math on the stage photo ops with Trudeau and wife during the King's coronation and their anniversary when they were taking the pictures together in the RV holding hands and a bunch of other stuff where they she was already clearly seeing somebody else, judging by the backdating now, what we've discovered. And so
Well,
they were clearly staged photo ops, which just goes to show you how fake the whole setup was to begin with.
yeah, but I mean, Idris hasn't separated from his current wife yet, so
True. Yet.
uh, so she doesn't want to like ruin that. But yeah, it, it is sad when you look back and you're like, I mean, we all knew that it was a staged photo op, but now that we know for sure that it is like an ultra staged photo op, and it was all like all that sappy bullshit that they wrote was all just to keep up appearances and everything. Like, just makes it pathetic.
It's almost like he lies a lot. Huh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, another fun one here out of Quebec.
Yeah, another dishonest person.
Yeah, weird. There's a few of those in Quebec.
Yeah.
Quebec man facing charges for allegedly smuggling counterfeit $2 coins into Canada. I don't think there's anything alleged about this because if you look at these coins, they, they are
He
ridiculous.
it looks like he got AI to draw the queen for the back of the coin there. Like that is not
I
even
mean,
remote.
it kind of almost looks like maybe it's Charles or Abe Lincoln, but without the beard and top hat.
With alopecia or something. Yeah, there's some
Yeah,
really weird stuff going on with that picture there. I mean, the polar bear is close, but I mean,
yeah.
again, I'm no counterfeit expert, but would it not be more effort efficient and cost efficient to counterfeit like 20s because people are less likely to just scrutinize 20s. They're lighter and they're probably generally objectively easier to make than a coin.
Well, that's what I was thinking. That's what sort of drew me to this article is sort of the ridiculous nature of it. Like, I get way back in the day, like everything was a coin, so that's all you had to counterfeit, and like slugs and stuff like that in vending machines was a thing and still is a thing, right? But that's easy to cut like a disc with no artwork on it to just to fool the thing because it's based on size.
Yeah.
These are actually engraved coins, and yeah, the polar bear is pretty. I mean, you could see when you have them side by side, but like if you were not paying attention, you would think it's just a worn out $2 coin. But I guess they found where's that number here? He had what 12,050 $2 coins that he was bringing in from China, interestingly enough. And when they sort of found that package and then went and investigated the guy from Quebec, they found he had another 14,500, we'll say.
Yeah.
And then 91 US $50 bills. It's just the $2 coin. Like, I get that, like, no one's going to probably look at it really closely, but like, the cost involved in making that $2 coin has got to be, I mean, even if he's making 30,000 of them or whatever he's close to, right? So like 60 grand worth of toonies. How much is he really profiting by using these?
And even transporting them around. I mean, 60 grand in 20s is a lot lighter. And again,
Yeah.
ink, some generally specialized paper and a decent printing machine and you're good to go versus a press, a stamp, a design, like a master blank there and everything else. And oh, that's
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Like,
that's why I'm not in the counterfeit business, I guess.
well, I guess that's why this guy isn't either. Because it's
Well,
just
not
it's
anymore.
a terrible plan. Like, I
But
just,
and even if you got the things from China for like 10 cents a piece,
yeah.
it's not worth the penalty and the prison for getting caught with one, right? It's like
Yeah.
there's
It's
the whole thing. I guess it's he was not a criminal mastermind, but
no, I mean, it's all risk and reward, right?
yeah. But anyway,
Yeah. Hold on. Chris wants me to share a screen. This could get dangerous. Hold on, let me see if I can do this here because these coins are absolutely ridiculous. Will it let me do this? Oh, Oh, no, I can't minimize the thing while we're doing that. We're share screen at a time. Now, how do I? Oh, here we go. Yay, I figured it out. Here you go, Chris. Um, that's what the coins look like. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
For our listening audience, I apologize, but tune in live and then you could see all the glorious. And then there's the polar bear and his weird toes, but that one's not nearly as bad as because that's not even a woman. All I guess by today's standards, that is. So
Yeah, you can't question these things.
yeah. So maybe that was the it's not so much that it is a counterfeit one. Maybe it's actually just a commentary on the Canadian culture at the time. And it's just a little jab at us from the Chinese, as they are prone to do. I don't know. That's all the news articles I pulled. I don't know. Is there anything else that you want to bitch about government about, Ian?
Well, would it do us much good at this point? I mean, we talked about the CCFR thing, I think probably last week, right? Or did that
Yeah,
happen?
if I'm not on the show, I don't pay attention. But I imagine that they did. But I mean, we can always throw our 2 cents in because we weren't around last week.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, it was no shocker there. There's probably a predetermined outcome, no matter what the evidence. I mean, they can't let a silly thing like evidence affect the judicial system nowadays, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, I was hopeful, but I was not holding my breath because like every now and again, like a broken clock is still right twice a day. But I figured, given the way that some of the things had gone, and that the judge seemed, at least at the beginning, to be somewhat impartial and was actually taking the government to task by being like, no, 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 like you have to tell me these things, like even if you just tell me these things so that I can make a decision. But maybe that was all just a ruse to make it look like she was on our side, unfortunately.
yeah, not exactly a happy ending story. But I mean, again, the lawyers would be the only ones winning in the end. I mean, they're going to get rich no matter what, whether it be the Crown lawyers or the CCFRs. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of sad when you can have like one side that literally has unlimited legal resources, paid for by you and I, to take away our property and trample on our
Yeah.
rights. And so
And
we're
then the
literally
other side is also funded by us.
by us, but with a
Yeah.
limited basis because
Yeah.
not everybody's like contributing to that, but literally an unlimited budget on one side. And
Yeah.
it's just crazy. And so yeah, the fact that you're paying your own money to have your rights trampled on and then having to pay more money to try and preserve them with a fixed system that is closely resembling a banana republic at this point.
Yeah. Well, and I was when we heard the news, I was away on vacation the other week in Disney World of all places. And my comment at the time was, I am in the fakest of fake places, and it's still more of a real country than Canada at the moment after that decision. So
Yeah, like we've kind of stopped being a serious country when it comes to a lot of stuff, and the legal system is just one of them. Like whether it be the Tamara Lynch trial or anything else going on right now, like you kind of know how it's going to end up just because of the fact that they're liberal appointees usually as a judge. Um, the problem here in the comments said that the CCFR said they're going to
yeah,
appeal, but Supreme Court does not have to take it if that's correct. And from what I understand is the Supreme Court no does not technically have to take it, but it still be appealed and it'll still be heard somewhere. But
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, kudos to them for fighting the good fight and seeing it through to the end and as far as they can. And I will continue to fund both sides of it. One because I'm obligated to, the other one because I want to. But yeah,
I guess
I
the problem with appeals, and I'm no lawyer, but I mean the problem with appeals is unless something like earth-shattering or something that may have been pertinent to the case that was like discounted as evidence last time comes up, or something that was missed, like
yeah,
the outcome is not going to be any different, right?
yeah, it's very rare that another judge, like if a decision was made as opposed to the like, whoa, 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 like I can't rule on this. This needs to go to the next level of court. like they've made a ruling. The judge is going to look at that and then probably ask them questions, call them up on the phone and be like, why did you decide this? They go, well, because of this. And they're like, okay, because nobody likes to rock the boat.
Yeah, like I can understand there's some evidence that was specifically excluded because of some technicality or something that may have been
Yeah.
admitted later on. Okay, but I can't see just appealing for the sake of appealing.
Yeah.
Obviously I would never say not to do it, but I'm just saying like I can't expect a different outcome at this point.
No, I
So
mean, malicious compliance is best compliance. And I think this falls into that category where even if we know that we're going to lose, we still go through the motion of it because if nothing else, it ties up this whole thing longer.
yeah, and I was hoping that this would have been delayed until after the next election, but I mean, if the appeal will drag it out a little bit more or like create a stay of enforcement of anything, that'd be one thing too, right?
Well, we've still got just shy of 2.5 years before we have to turn anything in. And even then, in 2.5 years, I can't imagine that they will have a plan because they had 2 years already and they haven't figured out even how they're going to get them from retail stores who, if what's his face is any indication, some of them are chomping at the bit to free up that inventory dollars for something else.
Yeah, I think it's as a matter of spite, and if he knows he's on the way out, he'll try and arrange something last minute that would be like utterly unfair and not commensurate with the value for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well,
narcissists can be very vindictive at times.
yeah. Well, hopefully he goes and loiters in front of some buildings and gets arrested.
It's the best outcome we could hope for.
Yeah. Or maybe he goes to BC for a little bit and takes a trip down East Hastings. To
Well,
be one with the people.
yeah, he's lonely after all, right? So,
Yeah. Well, get in touch with the common man. See what
yeah.
they want.
Well, that's pretty much all I had.
Yeah, that's all I've got. Where can people find you when you're not on the show?
Well, I guess besides the obvious fact I'm pretty much banned from everywhere. I guess the only place other than here you can find me is Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can find me on YouTube and Facebook Live, I believe. Canadian Prepper Podcast is the name of the channel. You can email directly to me if you want at theislandretreat@gmail.com.
So you're not technically banned everywhere. Like you just like have to proxy into Facebook.
Yeah, no, I mean I can't have my own I can't have my own account. I mean
Yeah.
I can't post anywhere like on a Gilded app or anything, but
Yeah.
anything else.
Well,
But
yeah.
I can piggyback on somebody else's account.
Yeah. Well, some of the podcast is on Gilded. Some of the people on there actually even interact with other people. So, there's a link in the show notes for that. If you listen to the show this long, you deserve a discount. So if you go to ragnaroktactical.ca and go shopping there and pick up first aid supplies for, the pending collapse, use the code Patriot at checkout to get yourself a discount. You can also find me on Instagram, UrbixGTA. Apparently, we value your opinion, so please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com and let us know what you think. Send us your hate mail. We'll read it. Even send us some ad copy. We've done that before.
Accidentally
Apologies.
sometimes.
Yeah, accidentally sometimes, on purpose some other times. Sometimes we're not really sure. We just read whatever people put in front of us. We're only slightly more intelligent than a chimp. So yes, apologies to Rod. He was busy doing stuff, protecting himself while walking down East Hastings from crazed sex offenders and junkies. He's okay. He just was a little bit too rattled to be on the show after that. And I understand that that would be quite the experience for anybody.
It's just so easy to pick out with those paisley shirts.
Yeah. A little bit harder there, but still not that hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a reminder to everybody that you are